only way to start your day.
Country, the region and the world will have those conversations. It will prick sometimes, might be a little bit painful, but necessary for us to have otherwise. And thank you for joining us. Our audiences on KTN and on our live streams, and of course on terrestrial radio across. We get into a conversation this hour that you want to sometimes run away from, but we can't, because this one, it will keep chasing us no matter what it is that we do. Party politics, they'll play out, but how important actually are they, and what kind of attention should we be paying to them, and how it does matter? Are they commitments to the country, that when you see a party going through all of this, is it commitment to moving the country in a forward direct trajectory? And even as I ask that, our guest for this hour is Willis Otieno, advocate and also deputy party leader of the Safeni Party, is here with us this morning. Wakili, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah?
Glad to be here.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
You have been very busy. And as you've been busy, things have been happening. Up and down, up and down. We're going to get into that today. Dennis went to Angola this week. And let him share the problem for today first.
Beautiful country rich in diamonds, oil, and gold. The country continues to suffer from landmines. Why? Because of the civil war, and they never really cleared their spaces there. So the residents today continue to suffer, and the landmines continue to blow up if one is not careful. But it is also the seventh largest country in the continent. But the proverb that we get today from Angola: a healthy person who pretends to be sick will soon be found out.
You cannot hide a disease. You can only hide that which you have control over. But nobody invites disease to themselves.
Yes.
So whatever you do, you may just hide for some time. But at a particular point, it will fester and it will come out. That is my interpretation.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm making sense, Dennis. The menace.
You make perfect sense, Ogil. You make perfect sense.
I think that interpretation might find its way playing into our conversation this morning. Because we are seeing a lot of political party machinations playing out in society today. Yesterday, Professor Pierre Lumumba told us that there are no political parties in Kenya. He said that we have political formations, or essentially vehicles, that move people from one place to the next. But parties that, for all intents and purposes, in Kenya today seem to be struggling a little bit with who leads what, who is going where. Could we say that these are birth pains to then be able to deliver, you're already laughing, to deliver the Kenya that Kenyans want, or that is constitutionally ordained for this geographical area?
I'll start by saying that we do not have proper political parties in Kenya, save for Safina Party.
Okay. It's not a surprise.
So I'll only edit, I agree largely with the professor, but only to add that Safina Party is what you can define as a political party. ODM at some point seemed to have been a political party when they started. And I say this because a political party should be formed by a particular ideology.
Yeah.
There must be something that caucuses people together in a political party with the sole purpose of pursuing that ideology. And Safina Party, our ideology is very clear. As we're on the economy, it's purely about the economy. The economy is stupid, nothing else. But look at the other formations, as Prof calls them. What is the ideology? Somebody today is pro-establishment, conservative. The next day, they're revolutionary. Then they keep swinging both ends. So you cannot even tell that which they represent. The things that they condemned yesterday are the things that they embrace today and practice today. That is why when somebody surmises that there are no political parties in Kenya but political formations, yes, they are political formations. Okay. Because in formations, what you're looking for is the convenience. What is convenient today for my personal interest? What is convenient today is to sing the praises of an administration or to sing the praises of raising taxes to the people of Kenya, because I am benefiting from those taxes. But if there's an ideology, you will see and tell that, okay, what is it that informs this particular political party? What is the driving engine? What is the inner soul of the party? And is the party staying true to that inner soul? Look at, for example, I'm sorry for ODM, I'm going to pick on them today. Look at what ODM members of parliament used to say in 2023. And look at what they say today. Bad himself says William Ruto as a skunk. And he speaks loudly about debt, condemning it, wastage and corruption. But today is the number one person championing that very thing which he condemned. So if you told someone that this belongs to a political party, let you know, this is an individual. This is just a formation. They're just a caucus of individuals who are pursuing their interests. So if the interest is taken care of, personal interest for that matter, is taken care of today, that which you said yesterday, that which you championed yesterday, does not matter. And that is what we must reject in our politics. We need to move to a situation where political parties should be ideology-based. Then people vote for ideology. At the end of the electoral contest, the ideology should win, not individuals. So that when I go to vote, I'm voting for an ideology. I know that Safina Party stands for this ideology. We are not paying odious debt. We are saying that the money that is used to pay odious debt apply to education, so education becomes free. Apply part of it to healthcare, health becomes free. We are saying that VAT should go, that we should only have a 5% sales tax. And we are saying that the government should not borrow from the domestic market, and the money in the local banks should be available to Kenyans to borrow at low interest rates. So we are very clear. There are things that are self-executing. You do not even need the political administration to drive the agenda. Once you elect that administration, you know this is the ideology you voted for. I will not now pay VAT. Power is in my hands. I'll simply recalibrate my machine, put a 5% sales tax. That's all we pay. I'm going to purchase an item as a consumer. I just pay less, 11%. I pay 5% sales tax, not 16%.
So the ideology essentially would be activated, and then you wouldn't require an individual to come back to you next Saturday, for example, and say, I am going to do this, or I'm going to do the other, because you bring in the ideology by virtue of your vote, and you see these things playing out. I mean, it sounds almost extraterrestrial, but it sounds like that's what should happen.
But it happens. Look at the US, for example. We know what the Conservative Party, the Republicans, stand for. Yeah. We know what the Democrats stand for. You know very well that if the Republicans Party are in power, the issue of gun control, the issue of reproductive health rights, the issues of tax to the wealthy, they are known. The core issues that political party stands for are known. Same also with the Democrats. You know the questions of minorities and marginalized groups, how they are going to be included in administration. We know question welfare. So they are known. That is how political parties are formed. But in Kenya, Party A today will campaign on a platform. Then the next day, Party A will abandon everything that they stood for.
Do we therefore, Wakili, say, because if you look at what you're speaking about even today, we have political parties with their beautiful manifestos and their 10-point agendas and everything that they want to implement and achieve. But you get to power, and you realize that through policies that they put in place, talk about the tax measures that they put in place, how they're going to run the economy, everything is separate and removed from the manifesto and the ideology that they do have. Therefore, does it mean that whatever we have are just parties to hold power and not really to implement anything?
Of course, those are individuals who want to acquire power. And those manifestos, those are con documents, most of them. That's why I say for Safina, we are very clear. When we tell you that this is what we stand for, you don't need the administration to intervene. When I say that we are not going to charge VAT 16%, it's about economic liberation. It's about economic revolution. Who pays VAT? It's the people. See, when they are voting, they've said we are not paying 60% VAT, we are paying 5% sales tax. So it's not about government telling you that we've come with a policy on it. You voted for it. So just recalibrate your machine, give government 5% sales tax, you retain your 11% that you could have gone to VAT. When we say that healthcare should be free, not paid by the people of Kenya, don't wait for government to tell you that now from this day, don't do it. Just take your patient. You're the one who falls sick. Take your patient to the hospital and demand quality service so that the conversation moves away from access to quality. Because at the ballot, you had already made a decision. It's our economic liberation. But when you focus on the the legacy political parties, what do? The legacy political parties will draw for you very lofty images, give you nice pictures, nice term, flowery language of what they are going to do for you. It is them doing it. They live and tell you, I'll give you 10 billion, I'll give you 20 billion, Mama Mboga. Who are you giving? Who are you to give? From where? That is, to me, the mindset. That's a con man. When someone tells you, I'll give you 10 billion, where does it print money? It doesn't. That money belongs to the people of Kenya. So let us vote based on what the Kenyan people will do. They will set up for the parameters based on the ideology that they've committed to. Our ideology is economic liberation. Our ideology is social justice. This is how it should be achieved. And the power being in the hands of the people, not a legacy politician telling you what he will do for you.
Okay. Kenya is a captive audience at the moment to these machinations that we speak about, mentioned earlier, that one of the, if not the largest political party movement, ODM movement, is in the wrangles of, infighting, looking for who the head should be or not be, wanting to go back and listen to the voice of the people. Is this normal? Should we see this in the progress of what many want to call a democratic evolution? That you will see things like this, where because power has left and changed hands, that you will see these wranglings internally. Is it normal, and should it now, pass over time?
Of course, one thing that we must all accept is that Raila Odinga represented the embodiment of what could be defined or referred to as the ideology of ODM. And within that movement, he carried lots of baggage. People who didn't believe even in whatever ideologies or the cause that Raila championed. And he was able, based on his long experience in politics and his stature, he was able to harmonize these competing interests. So even the charlatans in the room, they always knew that I only defer to Raila Odinga. I may have my own selfish interest, but at the point of difference, I'll take the cue from what he says.
Right.
Now he's not there. He's the glue that held together these competing interests, these selfish interests that exist within that formation. In his absence, there is no glue that will hold them. And because the bulk of that group, you find a significant number, that believe in nothing. They believe in self-interest. They don't believe that it's about the people. To them, they believe it's my opportunity to advance, gain individual benefits, but hoping that they will still hold onto the ODM behemoth, as it were. They will not succeed. And then there's another group that believes that the foundation of ODM was meant to be about the people. That's why it's a movement. It's the one of the few political parties that calls themselves a movement, not a party. It's a movement to carry everybody. So it has lost its soul. And the fights are just going to get worse by the day. The differences are irreconcilable. Those fault lines cannot be mended for the simple reason that what is the underlying interest, what is the driving force that informs their participation within that movement?
Okay, is their commitment today as we speak in terms of look at broad-based government and what it is they are pushing for? And even conversations right now is we are here to form the next government. It is not we are here to deliver to the people of Kenya. You look at United Opposition on the other hand, what are they talking about? We are here one term. That is our number one priority, Kesi Badai. Is there any commitment to deliver to the Mwananchi?
Why Safina Party we are neither two-term or one-term? It's because of that. That when you just campaign that we are two-term on what? You're already in office. Deliver to the people that which you want to deliver to them after the elections. When you say it is one term, remove Ruto. Ruto must go. Ruto is going. He's going. That one is a fact. But what's next? Beyond Ruto, what's next? What is the area? What is the convergence? What is the promise to the people of Kenya? What's the commitment that you're making to the people? What are we voting for? Because once we choose what we are voting for, The going of William Ruto is just but a consequence of us voting for, choosing what we are voting for. But legacy politicians will always turn this thing to be about themselves. Look at the United Opposition Group. Look at the broad-based. I gave the classic example last time. William Ruto was a presidential candidate. Raila Odinga was a presidential candidate. Before he passed, Raila Odinga and William Ruto, one side. On the other side, Martha Karua, Kalonzo Musyoka at one time have been Raila Odinga's running mates. Gachagua was Ruto's running mate. Now, running mates on one side, presidents on one side. And then you tell me that they're different. There's no difference between these two formations. They're the same. The only competition they're having is as to who sits as the head honcho on the table of mismanaging our resources.
Right.
There is no ideology. That is why anybody can cross comfortably from one side to the other and back and forth. You can see handshakes, you can see formations. Look even at the United Opposition.
Okay.
How many of their members are just crossing casually back to William Ruto 1-2 term and then they go back?
So what you're saying is that if it was built on ideology, if it was built from a place where you actually wanted to see the country progress, it would not be easy for you to hop from one to the other.
It will be impossible. What you may have are compromises on certain issues to advance the country. In the US, I think it was last month, they had their government shutdown. And part of it was that the Democrats and the Republicans were not able to reach a compromise on certain bills, on finance, government budget. So they shut down the government. They take time to reach a compromise. But it doesn't mean they cross over. That one side has crossed over is now supporting the other politically. It's just say, okay, what is the compromise we can reach based on this impasse and to the best interest of the people of America? But in Kenya, when there's a compromise, people start talking of cabinet slots. And now give my people jobs. But where's the people's benefit once you give one individual a job? That now because somebody comes from Nyanza is a CS, now the whole people of Nyanza, their problems are sorted economically. We have how many kids who have not gone to school this year? The last count I saw, the Standard had given a figure of almost 800,000 people. Kids who ought to join school have not transited. Now, those are the things that we should be focusing on, not giving legacy politicians jobs. Because what they've done is this legacy political cabal, they've now taken over the Republic of Kenya and they're using it to advance their selfish interest. We are not discussing politics and leadership based on the common good of the people. That is what we need to move away from. And I do believe that there are many Kenyans who are concerned with the state of politics and leadership in this country. That is why, in my estimation, you are not seeing an emerging consensus as the next leader of Kenya. We seem to have an emerging consensus as to these legacy politicians are going to be rejected anyway, including William Ruto. They are going. But we are just to now have a formation that will show where the country needs to go to.
Okay, that's a critical point that you raised there, because now you say, as we sit today, Kenyans are not united on who is to rule, who is to be president, right? Therefore brings the conversation on how critical the voice of Mwananchi is in choosing the next leader. And as we sit here today, even in our caucuses, in our different groups, and even our Mwananchis, they continue to waddle in these waters. How critical are they in terms of saying, we've agreed, if it's one term and must go, legacy politicians must go, but that the next leader must come from us and this is what we want? Are Kenyans having those discussions as we speak?
They are. And I always get my confidence from the young people who came out last year, but one and last year, to the extent that we saw Kenyans mobilizing on an issue, and the issue was the economy. Not mobilized by legacy politicians. They were mobilizing based on an issue that affects all Kenyans, irrespective of age, class, tribe, everything. It was the economy. And we saw an attempt by legacy politicians, the Gachagua group, what they're trying to do to reduce this conversation into one term, two term. They were trying to take over politically the movement that had brought the economy as the key issue in the country by turning it into William Ruto must go, it's one term. But one term, then what? They were not having that discussion. At the point when Gachagua started his running around the country, if you can recall, the young people had put William Ruto on his pedestal. He was being forced to now hold town hall meetings to discuss the economy. Our politics was now evolving towards the economy.
Yeah.
That he's holding town hall meetings to explain himself on what he's doing and what he's promising to do on the economy. But then once you start reducing it into one term, two term, tribal arrangements, you are playing on his table. Because you go there that, you go and bring your Kikuyu, bring your Kambas, bring your Kisi, bring your Jaluos, bring your what. You will have an answer immediately. Yeah? As you put your lineup of tribal leaders, even him, he'll have a lineup of tribal leaders. So you go campaign in Bere, you're a former deputy president, he'll send the current deputy president there. You go there with a former attorney general who was a CS public service, he sends the CS public service. Who is sitting there to campaign in that same Bere. You claim that now you have Kalonzo, he will have his Mutua. You claim you have Siji Eugene Wamalwa, he will send Baraza and Paranya and Mwetangula. So you're playing in his table.
Indeed.
The conversation should move away from these legacy politicians. You cannot have a conversation that we are now putting a table for tribesmen to sit on. Who say those tribesmen represent their people? Those tribesmen have benefited from the Kenyan people for the last 30 years or so. And there's no benefit. In fact, the sum total of the tribal politics is that we have 800,000 young people who are not accessing to school when they should.
Right.
That should concern us.
So the conversations that are being had, essentially, whatever is being sold from those conversations is not what Kenyans need to buy. And we've often asked ourselves the question, how then do Kenyans know? How do you make that right decision? That if what you're hearing is not any time about the actual things that will turn around an economy, that will improve livelihoods, that will sort out the perennial issues that have been Kenya's bane for the longest time. If those are the conversations that you're not having, then it's very clear who you should be selecting to be your leader. Is it that simple?
It is. It is that simple. It's only that we've allowed legacy politicians to, in terms of political messaging, they've saturated that space of political messaging, trying to double down on tribal politics, on division, on their self-interest. But there is an ongoing conversation among the people of Kenya to critique and to try to proffer solutions on what is the main issue that the country should focus on. And I do believe it's part of that conversation that led to the largest mobilization in the history of Kenya, of young people, to do a campaign to reject the finance bill. That was an economy issue. That was an issue that affected all Kenyans, even the legacy politicians who are going to be affected by that finance bill. The economic pain was unbearable to all Kenyans. So these conversations must continue in different channels and platforms. The bulk of it is taking place on social media. A lot of it is taking place also on the ground, at the grassroots level, household level. When every evening you see your plate of dinner shrinking. When you see yourself confronted with escalating hospital bills, you are confronted with a youth population, many young people who are qualified and don't have jobs. And those who have jobs, majority of them are not doing jobs for which they trained. Over December, I was in the village, traveling the entire Nyanza region. And there was one common thread. Whenever I went to church, I would go to different churches. But I noticed, you'll meet this elderly lady who will come to you and talk to you that we have a big problem. I'm now staying at home with my sons. He's a graduate. My daughter is a graduate. I'm the one now taking care of them in my retirement. Is there a way in which the political establishment can address this youth unemployment? This is a kid who has lived according to what the society had asked him. Was an obedient kid, went to school, got his qualifications, his master's, his degree. And then when he goes to the market to look for a job, the market is not creating any job that is commensurate with his qualifications. Now they're living with their parents, the ones who are lucky. The ones who are not lucky are doing menial jobs that don't pay them for their qualifications. He's not even applying their skill set. That is a conversation that people are having. Who is listening to us today that does not know an unemployed graduate or a diploma holder or a certificate holder? Who doesn't know? Everybody knows. And they live within this community. They live within our society. And it cuts across. It's not something that you're going to say is unique to this particular tribe and that particular tribe is exempted. Even in William Ruto's own tribe, there are people who are qualified and are not doing jobs that are commensurate with their qualifications. Some are not doing jobs at all, are being taken care of by their parents. And even those parents don't like they have anything. They are just draining off the little pension.
Because they will not essentially throw their children into
this. They can't throw your kid out.
Okay. Yeah. So now this is the question, because it might be that people are then convinced that, the administration of the day is trying to do something about this problem, youth unemployment. Let's take that as an example. The Nyota program, essentially what we're looking at is 50,000 shillings for 100,000 young people across the country. So maybe that took off, maybe some places. And then no sooner had that started, then we see this next one. Just last week it was announced that the president said we're going to be giving 6,000 shillings to 90,000 people around the country. I don't know, every month, I don't know. Something about that. Is that the panacea to the problem? There was a Hustler Fund, which we had a conversation about this morning. We're not quite sure where that money went. We know that 11 billion of it has been gobbled up for, whatever it was. But it seems as though there were seemingly, injections over time that would sort out some of these problems, seemingly. Are they not?
One thing that legacy politicians know and where they fail is they practice distribution. They're distributionists. They think the problem of Kenya is a problem of distribution. That there's this much money that is held here. We need to distribute it, become Father Christmas, distribute it to gain political capital. But you're not addressing the problem. I was in Siaya when the Nyota enumeration was being done. And when they went to the sub-county commissioner's office, they were told they only want, I think, was 100 groups. The queue had more than 5,000 young people. So you take 100. What about the 4,900 that were not taken that day? Where do they go? Our problem is not distribution. Our problem is production. So if William Ruto or these legacy politicians minded that they want to change the fate of the people of Kenya, they will move away from distributive economics to productive economics. And this is what Safina Party, for example, will stand for. We are saying, what should be the driver of economic growth? It cannot be government. Government can just be but a facilitator. Growth and production must be private sector driven, the individual. And what are the barriers to private sector growth in this country? Number one is access to capital. People have great ideas. What they lack is access to money. You go to the bank, you are told your interest rate is 20%. And you ask yourself why? When in Europe, interest rate is 4%, 3%. Number one reason is your government is borrowing illegally from that same bank. So when you go to take a loan, the bank does not even want to listen to you.
No.
You are an undesired customer. They prefer to lend to your government because they know that same government, remember the money in the bank is your money. It's my deposit, your deposit.
Exactly.
Your government comes and borrows it at 14% interest rate, then comes to you, first after it borrows at 14%, kicks you out of that market. You can't access that capital. Then it comes to you, raises your taxes, charges and levies to pay for that high interest rate of money that was borrowed, which was yours. So Safina Party was saying, stop borrowing from domestic market. What it means is this. Interest rates will fall. With access to credit, capital, 3% interest rate. You borrow 1 million, you're only paying 40,000 Kenyan shillings at interest per year. What can the Kenyan people do?
Absolutely.
So with access to capital, you are able to turn your invention, your idea, into profit. Now, if you allow as many Kenyans as they exist access to that capital, what you are discussing about youth unemployment will not be there. But you're not going to solve that youth unemployment by giving people 6,000 shillings, by giving people Nyota funds of 50,000, of which that 50,000 that you're giving the groups, how much of it is going to government bureaucracy? Right? Mm-hmm. Before you even set up. Then you're telling this person to go and set up a business, for example, with that 50,000. Where's the market? Yeah. Because his market didn't get that money. His market has no access to capital, has no access to the consumption, the consumption income is low. They are not able to spend. The disposable income is very low. They are not able to spend. So even if you end up put up, as David D always says, that you go and put up chapatis, it presupposes that there is enough people who are willing to buy or have money to buy that chapati. If you are the only person who got Nyota fund, and you go and put up your chapati baking machine, and yet Dennis and others don't have money, you will eat those chapatis yourself.
True.
There's no market for the chapati.
And okay, see, this speaks on a point where Kenyans today, if you just speak in terms of, do you believe there is any formation that is out there to look after your interest? And many would say, we are on our own. And because we are on our own, then it behoves upon us to make decisions that will make us be part of the process. For a very long time, we've had the middle class, the young people being told to get into these political spaces and change their story, because can't always be complaining, yet you're not part of the solution. Be there and push and move to change things the way you want. Is that a trajectory? And is the political class, the legacy politicians, as you call them, are they tuned to reality on ground?
I don't think the legacy politicians are tuned to the reality on the ground, because to them they have created their own make-believe world, and they believe that the long years of practice of their legacy politics, they have in a way captured the psyche of the people. They are able to manipulate them. They are able to deploy tribe, deploy money to undermine the quest of the people. The call and responsibility is now on the people of Kenya to define what they want. They have started doing it, as I've said. The young people are able to drag William Ruto to start doing town halls on economic discussions. We just need to go back there, where the primary focus of any discussions on politics and governance should be the economy. You'll see all these legacy politicians fall by the wayside, because they cannot hold a sane economic discussion that impacts the people of Kenya. To them, a solution to economic problem is to give you handouts. That's why William Ruto will say, I'll give you 6,000. So when he says 6,000, where is it going to come from? Yeah. Who has produced it to give the 6,000? But for optics of legacy politics, it's very good. If you tell today, in the desperate state of our young people, if you say that I'm giving out 6,000 today, you'll have almost 100,000 people queuing outside. But you're not addressing the key problem.
Okay.
If you address the key problem, which is why are our people not able to grow economically? It's because we're not producing.
And that's the pain point, isn't it? Because when we look at the blueprints for a lot of things, and if, it's kind of sometimes difficult to believe, but a lot of the people who have strayed away from what would be government today have said, well, they did have very good plans in place, and we actually thought that they were going to do this. One of the big ones was KIPES. They said that we're going to actually come and have industrial parks where this manufacturing that you talk about, which is necessary for development, was going to take place. That hasn't happened yet. This ministry, the long one, MITI, industry, trade, investment, etc., was supposed to set up things for this very same thing to happen. We still kind of dilly-dallied around. We've changed a couple of PSs in there. We've changed the CS a couple of times. Not been able to look where. That the only time you will then be able to move the development needle is when you are selling something for which you can achieve a profit. I mean, it's simple math here. That you will not be able to, even in a business, Willis, if you're selling something and you're not making anything, you're basically just making something for somebody to consume. You have to make something in order for you to develop as a business. It's the same principle for a country. We've seen it done around the world. So it would seem as though in some direction there was an idea that said, okay, this is the way. But do we see one thing that Kenya makes today that it's selling? I'm not talking about the things that grow out of the ground, like flowers, whereby you can, you can domicile around them, or like the tourism, which yes, indeed, you can get a profit from. But for you to make something that you will then be able to realize a profit after exportation, for example, is it so difficult to get into that direction?
In demand-side economics, the greatest undoing is they believe that government is the baba na mama, that government should do everything. Here, when government decides that they're going to put up industrial parks in every county, what will be produced in those industrial parks?
And that's what I was
You get? Government cannot be the driver of economic growth. Government, as I've said, can only be a facilitator. And that is what Safina will say as we practice supply-side economics. And our position is very simple. Remove the barriers. Then let the private sector to grow. Let the private sector, the individual, be the driver of economic growth. Government just gives an enabling environment that enables that private sector to thrive.
So, sorry, Willis, just on that point, it's because oftentimes people say, okay, well, where has that worked? But do we not see that it is around the world where it is the private sector with facilitation of government for certain things to happen, licenses, access to credit, etc., creating that environment that's conducive for these businesses to thrive? It is the private sector that drives economy.
Of course. Then that's one thing we must all accept. For any country to grow in a liberal democracy like Kenya, it has to be private sector driven. Unless we decide to become what you call the dictatorships, where government is even running everything. We are a liberal economy. Let us accept what we are and do what liberal economies do, which is you remove government from being the driver of economic growth and enable the private sector. Provide an enabling environment that empowers the private sector and gives it an opportunity. So like, for example, if you go to some counties, you find there was an industrial park that was set up. It's now set up for bats. Bats and cockroaches are the ones living in those industrial parks. Yeah? Because after you set up that industrial park, what will happen to it? Yeah. You are hoping that to attract industry. Why is that not going there? Why are there even no SMEs that are going to set up, use them as hubs? Because as you are building that brick and mortar, the industry you are hoping was going to set up there is facing a myriad of government challenges and obstacles that makes him less competitive. Because if you look at the taxes they're going to pay, you look at even access to energy, you don't even have guaranteed stable energy supply. You're doing load shedding. The cost of that electricity itself, energy itself, here it's almost 23 US cents. In Ethiopia, it's 9 US cents.
Right.
So how are you going to compare the goods produced in Ethiopia? So it's the wrong mindset. That money that you spent, wasted to build for bats and cockroaches, bedding, lodging facilities, you could have applied to something that empowers the people of Kenya. So the government must understand its role. Legacy politicians like those projects because they provide photo ops. Right now, go to almost every county. You will find somebody is putting up for you at the markets. And those markets, they have almost the same design, almost all of them. A market that has stairs going up.
And money's been spent.
And money has been spent, Now tell me, the market that existed in that locality, before government came up to build a market, was a ground level market, open space.
Field,
Now, all of a sudden, you're putting a market that is 3 floors up or 5 floors. Now, you expect, in terms of practicality, when goods are delivered to that market, you expect someone is going to carry a sack of potatoes from the ground floor to the 5th floor.
To the 5th floor.
That is why you find a market building. Next to it is a thriving market outside, the open space market. Thriving. And the building is ignored. But legacy politicians want to take pictures with the building and say we are doing something. Somebody is making noise about it here, affordable housing. I'm building houses. He goes to Homa Bay, puts up 110 units. The population of Homa Bay is 1,071,000 plus. 1,071,000. Now you've put up 110 units. You are all over the world, shouting to the people of Homa Bay how affordable housing is going to change their lives. It will not change anybody's life.
No.
But if you spend that money, because you told us that if you look at the costing of that unit, if you just allowed the people of Homa Bay access to capital, there are so many entrepreneurial children in Homa Bay, young people of Homa Bay and women, who, if they accessed capital, they understand Homa Bay better than even government.
But the president said that what he's doing is he's dignifying the lives of Kenyans by giving them a place whereby they don't have throwaway toilets, where they have, a place where they can sit, and they don't have to all sleep in a room separated by a curtain.
The private sector has been doing it. The private sector has been doing it. The individuals have been doing it. What has been stopping their progress is tax regime. Yeah, that's what is delaying them. But if you left it to the people who had money, access to money, disposable income, they will be all able. Nobody is living in a dingy shanty in Nairobi because of lack of houses in Nairobi. People are living in poor housing conditions in Nairobi because they don't have money. Because go to Kilimani, go to Ruaka, go to Mirema, go to Nyayo, they are vacant houses.
They are.
Looking for tenants.
They are.
And then go again to the informal settlements in Kibra, you go to Mukuru. There are people living in shanties. They are not enjoying living in those shanties. They will wish they lived in those properly built apartments. But they don't have money. And they're not going to solve it by saying tokenism and putting up these units for you to be able to access. Then out of a population of 1 million, only 110 people are able to access it. And I think you've solved the problem. You've not solved anybody's problem. And even the ownership structures of those houses. The vulnerable poor are not able to afford. But if you create an economy that people have access to money, the priority being, I'm creating an economy that produces more to my people. People will move.
Okay, see, all these things rely on the laws of the land, whichever you want to look at it. Because here we've just spoken about the government borrowing on the local market against the law. The government borrowing outside and the money is not hitting the consolidated fund.
Yes.
We are talking about policies, taxation, corruption, and everything surrounds the law. If the country Kenya and its leadership followed the laws of the land, where would this country be? Because we want to talk about China and how they're moving. One thing in China is you're corrupt, you're dead. Singapore that you want to go, you're corrupt, you're dead. We have laws here, but laws is a suggestion.
In fact, somebody told me that yes, we are going to Singapore. And the first person we are hanging when we get to Singapore is William Ruto. Because in Singapore,
they hang the corrupt.
They hang the corrupt. So the first person we are going to hang is William Ruto when we get to Singapore. Because we don't want to be a country of corruption. But the point is this. When you look at our laws, I believe they're sufficient. What we lack is the political will to live by our laws. Governance issues. So people intentionally decide to ignore the law. The law becomes an inconvenience because they want to pursue their selfish interest. They want to accumulate wealth, undermine the state, so to speak, and the people. So they don't care as to the law. So we should not even be discussing law reform in Kenya, if you ask me, because the law is there. The laws are there, sufficiently enumerated, but consistently ignored and undermined by the legacy politicians. So what we need in terms of leadership is a leadership that is informed by the quest of the common good. That you don't even need the law. That law should not even be that because the law said this. It should be that whatever I'm doing, is it to the best interest of the people? That the law finds me doing the good thing, advancing the cause of the people. Not that I'm advancing the cause of the people because the law says it.
Yeah.
That is the difference between legacy politics and Safina politics. Safina is about the people and the people taking power in their hands to economically grow and ensure that they are able to access a life of dignity, not a life of handouts.
Wakili, why do you think people take the handouts? Because we see, I don't know that there has been a day, even this last weekend, when President William Ruto was out and there were handouts that were being given. People took them. Every time we've seen people go called to State House, whatever, and it is across social strata, whether it's teachers, whether it's chiefs, whether it's members of the county assembly, whether it's members of the handouts they're given, they're taken. Why do people take them? Is it that there's no understanding of this is not how it should work?
Yeah. In my community, we are fishermen.
Okay.
They say that fish gets rotten from the top. William Ruto himself gets handouts from the state. Yeah, whose money is it there? Whose money is he distributing? If the top itself is getting handouts from the coffers illegally, you are told State House has already finished its budgetary allocation and asking for more. Yeah, that's the truth of the matter.
But it's January.
It's January, and yet we have still 5 more months to go. So the point is this: that fish is rotten from the top. Then look at the people that we have. People are living in desperate situations here.
Yeah.
Many families are not able to afford 3 meals in a day. You're actually lucky to even get one.
True.
So given a choice between ideology and a plate of ugali,
you will not eat ideology for lunch.
Okay. They will go and get that 100 bob or 200 bob. But doesn't mean that by going to get that 100 bob or 200 bob, that they've sold to you what their core is. It's the same group, when the time comes, that will punish these legacy politicians in ways that you've never had seen before. Because when you subject them to this constant fight to access handouts, you are depriving them of their dignity. People are seeing their deplorable situation. The lives that they're living is not what they hope for. But when they hear that there's an easy 100 bob, 200 to 1,000 being given, they'll go and do it. Just so they're able to get a meal for the day.
Indeed.
So I don't condemn anybody who goes to collect handouts from the top Fuliza people. The number one handout collector is William Ruto, who collects handouts from the state.
Okay.
So in the way people go and get it, it's your money.
So if the tone is set from the top, and that you should then usher into a new system of because this is a system. This governance that we're seeing currently is a system.
Yes.
So if a new system of governance were to be introduced or ushered in that actually followed the rule of law across board, would that set the tone, and the people actually then would, number one, stop accepting, stop taking, and actually insist? Then do you see that people would then be able to change if the script was flipped?
I will only add by saying, if we economically empower our people, give them economic opportunities, they will not go for handouts. I'm sure this Dennis is sitting here. At least he has a small salary. Dennis will not go to follow a politician to be given 200 bob. But you have so many other Kenyans. He will not follow. He will not. He will not follow. But there are so many Kenyans who are even Dennis's age, who are not fortunate to earn even a coin. They live hand to mouth, day by day. That sometimes even they does hard labor for the day to earn 100 shillings. So he as a politician is somewhere with 200 bob. If he has to work to get 100 bob, now there's somebody who's giving it at 200 for free. They will go and get it.
For sure.
And I don't condemn them. So what we need to address, the problem is we have to address the economy. When people have access to money, just like already there are people in this country who have access to money, whatever little income they have. Go to Langata here. I always give that's my classical example. You can see the demographics of people who go to get handouts and those who don't go to get handouts. Those who live in their apartments, right? That maybe somebody is doing some job somewhere, it's guaranteed I can always find myself in an office in the morning. They never attend political rallies.
No.
They will not go for any handout. But then those who are doing menial labor or casual jobs that you are paid based on what you get per day, they'll be available. So the problem is the economy. We want to make sure that everybody is earning something independent of politicians. Then they will all stop following politicians. But for as long as you have desperate folk who don't have any earning, I sympathize with them. What can they do?
Indeed.
Yeah.
there's something that's come up very clear today, and that you often ask ourselves what the role is, but it's clear here that, you choose and, you follow the law. Quite simply, that should be the basis for all of this. If the conversation makes you uncomfortable, then it's clear that something needs to be done about it in this case and where we are going. Willis Ocheno, thank you always for then being able to join us in this conversation as you've done. Folks want you to stay, but, time doesn't allow us to do that.
Thank you.
Willis Ocheno is an advocate of the High Court and as well as Deputy Leader Safina Party. Thank you for being here this morning. Good morning, folks. It's 9 a.m.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Busted yesterday?